All right. Are we live? Hello, people who are watching the re-upload. Well, the upload of the live stream. I'm just going to check real quick to make sure everything's working. Make sure the stream is live. That the audio is working.
All right.
Yep.
Live.
I had to definitely check for that. That would be a disaster.
People who are watching the re-upload.
We have 0 people on right now, but I'm going to hop in soon to that song spotlight. And now I have actually made a song spotlight playlist, so any of the songs that are mentioned in the song spotlights throughout any of the album discussion streams will all be included in that playlist. So if you're interested in any songs that I mentioned in this stream, check them out in the description below. All right, on the stream, we have 3 people. That's awesome. I'm glad to have 3 people up on here. We got Jim Machine saying, yo, what is up, Jim Machine? You are awesome. Mad respect to you. I'm glad to see you on the stream. All right, so let's get right into it. We got 3 viewers. I don't want to keep the people watching the upload waiting, so let's hop right in to the song spotlight. We got 4 songs running up here, just some basic songs that I want to show people and put it more out there. You know, songs that I think deserve a little bit of exposure, a little bit of love, because I love them. All right, first up, we got Freddie Gibbs-Knicks. Freddie Gibbs, in my opinion, is one of the greatest rappers of the 2010s. I know he did rap before the 2010s, but like a lot of his most solid material came out in the 2010s. And this is one of them. Freddie Gibbs and Madlib Pinata, one of my absolute favorite hip-hop albums of all time. In fact, I need to talk about it in an album discussion stream. I'll be sure to do that in the future. But as for now, I'm just going to talk about this particular track right here, Freddie Gibbs-Knicks. This is such an incredibly produced track. I mean, as it should be. It's Madlib, one of the greatest producers in hip-hop. My personal favorite producer in hip-hop. I love his style. I love the samples he uses. I love the dreamy soundscape he creates in a lot of his beats, and he's also very versatile as well. He can do many different styles of beats and pull them up pretty excellently. And even a style that he doesn't really dwell in much, like trap, he still pulls that off well, like in the song Situations. So this dude is just a crazy well versed producer, and Freddie Gibbs is a very technical rapper. His flow is always on point. I love the energy he gives his voice, and the delivery is always on point. Absolutely love this song right here. This is just a great example of Freddie Gibbs and Madlib working together so well. This is one of my favorite songs by Freddie Gibbs. Definitely give it a listen if you're a fan of quality hip-hop. Next up, we got another hip-hop song, Death Grips' Say Hey Kid. I am a big fan of Death Grips. They're not for everybody, because they are a bit abrasive, they are a bit crazy, a bit out there, but if you're willing to dissect the music and all the intricacies that's going on, there's actually a lot there. And I'd say Death Grips is also one of the greatest, some of the greatest rap to come out of the 2010s. I am thoroughly impressed with them. I think there's something truly special, and who knows, they may even go down in the history of music. If that's an over-exaggerated statement, maybe it is. I'm just a massive Death Grips fan, so don't put me down too much for saying that if it turns out to be BS. But I truly do think there's something special, and this song is a great example of that. This is an excellent track about the problems of mob mentality, and it's Death Grips doing what they do best. You got amazing production on this, super creative production, unique production, and MC Ride's flow is unlike anything I've ever heard. And he is very skilled on the mic lyrically, and the way he delivers is also incredibly impressive. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Death Grips' Say Hey Kid. It's a great track. I know I had a little bit more to say about Knicks, but honestly, I want to talk about Death Grips in a future albums discussion as well, like a whole album, maybe this album, The Powers That Be, because this is one of my favorites by them. My favorite, if I had to choose, would probably be Bottomless Pit. because I think Bottomless Pit is basically like a refined version of the Money Store, but I still really love the powers that be. So yeah, awesome stuff. Death Grips, Say Hey Kid. Next up, we got Black Country, New Road, the place where he inserted the blade. This is a new album, brand spanking new album, and I am really impressed with this project. One second, I gotta plug in my computer. I wouldn't say it's a 10 out of 10. Some people have been saying it's like a masterpiece. It's an amazing album, but it's not anything like crazy innovative or out of this world, like crazy original. So I can't really say it's like a masterpiece or anything, but it is certainly incredible musicianship, excellent songwriting, and it's really well done. And I can't really think of many criticisms of this album, to be honest. So maybe saying it is a 10 is fair, but this is one of the best tracks from the album. It is just so powerful. I love the saxophones in this and the way it builds up, and it's very emotional. And yeah, like I said, very powerful stuff. So definitely check this out if you're into rock music. And I know a lot of people that watches this are, so definitely check it out. It's a newer rock band. I know there's a lot of people who love rock that say, oh, music is dead now. Music is no longer good. Not true. If you're into rock, even if you don't like a lot of the mainstream music that's out there, just dig a little bit. You'll find music you like. I know it. Come on. Okay. Next up, Cannibal Corpse, Scourge of Iron. Okay, this is another band I'm going to have to clarify that not everyone is going to enjoy. In fact, some people may get outright offended by this band, but don't get too upset. It's obviously inspired by like horror movies, and it's not meant to be taken 100% seriously because a lot of it is very exaggerated and goofy. But if you take it in that light and you're just there to have fun, headbang, and listen to some good instrumentation and vocal performances, then Cannibal Corpse is for you, for the straightforward, brutal, gory death metal that Cannibal Corpse always got you covered. And this is with, what's the vocalist name? Corpse Grinder. I'm pretty sure that's his name. He's a different vocalist from the one they had earlier in the band, which is on my favorite album, The Bleeding. Corpse Grinder is not on that. But I do think that Corpse Grinder, like, overall is probably the better vocalist, but I don't know if it's fair to compare because they're both really great vocalists. And he does amazing on this track, especially his very guttural, deep, brutal vocals go so well with his heavy, thick guitar riff. Like, it is so punishing. It's such an amazing guitar riff, and it makes you want to headbang immediately. So yeah, Cannibal Corpse is awesome. Definitely check them out if you're into brutal death metal. Awesome stuff. Really good stuff. Straightforward, brutal death metal, done well. All right. Now, we are going to hop into the album discussions. Yes, and unfortunately there are 0 people on here. I'm going to cry now. Just kidding. I'm going to get right into it. All right. First up, we got Sigh, Imaginary Sonicscape. So I did a poll on my YouTube channel and said that if everyone wanted to see me do a background of the artist and a little bit of the album on these discussions, let me know. And it seems like the majority of people, 2 people, said yes. So I'm going to start talking about the background of the artist before I talk about the album now. So background. Sigh are a Japanese metal band formed in Tokyo, and at the formation in 1989, they consisted of members Mirai. Okay, I hope I don't pronounce this bad. Mirai Kawashima on vocals and bass, Shinichi Ishikawa on guitar, and Satoshi Fujinami on drums. And originally, they had a mostly straightforward black metal sound with some experimental brushes, but they gradually progressed more and more to become even more experimental. And this album, Imaginary Sonicscape, released in 2001, is their most progressive album yet. This album is well made, as it incorporates elements from many different music genres well. There's noted influence from the likes of reggae, jazz, death metal, classical, disco, and honestly likely more that I can't think of off the top of my head here. Overall, it is grounded in black metal though, and especially on the vocal front. No doubt those are black metal vocals. And I know a lot of black metal elitists will say, this is not black metal. This is too experimental to be black metal. It's got to be that raw shit. It can't be putting in these different elements. It's just like, come on. Open your mind a little bit more. Like, genres can come together, you know? Like, it's called creativity. Okay, so yeah, this album is well made. It's grounded black metal, and even though all of these elements may sound like it would be the recipe for a mess, like all these different genres incorporated into this, it's actually incorporated pretty cohesively. Like, it may throw you for the loop at first, but every sound is deliberate on here, and compositionally it makes sense. And the only part that didn't flow to me was on a section in the first track called Angel Fall, because it goes into like a synth section towards the end that it really didn't work because the transition was bad. Like, it just kind of like came in out of nowhere, and it's just like, okay, that didn't really transition into there, and it didn't really go with the timing of the track either, so it was a little weird, threw me off. That threw me for a loop, even after, you know, noticing the songwriting is actually cohesive. And yeah, the songwriting on this entire thing is tight, no doubt, and these songs stick with you. In fact, I would say most of the tracks on this thing are actually pretty catchy, especially Scarlet Dream. No doubt, like, I'm humming that in the shower, okay? And it stands as a very unique and creative metal project, I think, and this band has their own sound going for them, and it's a cool one. Massive respect to Sigh. I love this band. More people need to give them some love, okay? They're an awesome band. Shout out to them. Okay. My favorite tracks on this are Scarlet Dream, a sunset song, and Dreamsphere, Return to Chaos. All right. Next up, we have another underrated album that I think deserves way more recognition. Deathrow, Deception Ignored. Background. Deathrow were a German thrash metal band formed in Dusseldorf, North Rhine-Westphalia, 1984. The band consists of members Milo Van Jaksic on vocals and bass, Thomas Preby on guitar, and Sven... dang it, I cannot talk today. I'm like stuttering for some reason. Sven Fluge on guitar. I may have pronounced that wrong. And Marcus Han on drums. They originally had a more straightforward thrash metal sound, but like Sigh, they did... Oh, I know y'all heard that thunder. But, just like Sigh did, they developed a more progressive sound later down the road. And they incorporated more intricate elements on this particular album called Deception Ignored, released in 1989. Honestly, I think this is an underrated thrash metal gem, no doubt. The production on this, like in terms of the band's catalog, already is a massive step up from their album Raging Steel, because that was so poorly mixed, and it had great musicianship though. And sometimes I could set aside a poorly mixed album if the musicianship is good enough, the songwriting is good enough. I could set it aside, especially on a metal release. I feel like a lot of metal bands had the problem of a producer not knowing how to record their really loud sound, and yeah, sometimes the production ended up muddy because of that. And sometimes, you know, quote-unquote poor production can work for the tone of the music, like in black metal. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. The production on the album Raging Steel was just unlistenable because it came to the point where some of the instruments were drowned out, and that is a problem. This, however, has production that packs way more of a punch. Way more. And I like how the vocals in this also remind me a bit of Anthrax, but with its own flavor. And the guitar work on this album, though, the guitar work, that is the most impressive to me. It is filled with memorable riffs and the technical playing that doesn't feel robotic. The emotion is definitely there, and there's a lot of energy. And also like the lyric topics. They're interesting. For example, the track Events in Concealment tells of politicians that mask themselves as great individuals, but actually do terrible things in concealment. There is also a line about pink-tinted glasses, which shows how many of those in power forget their place and see the world in a falsely bright light, when in reality they turn their back to suffering they cause. This is reflected in the album cover, which depicts figures that resemble politicians at the bottom wearing rose-tinted glasses. And there's also positive messages on this, like on the track NLYH, meaning never lose your humor. I mean, can't go wrong with that. That's a positive message right there. People always say metal is just saying violent stuff. There you go. Never lose your humor. Positive message right there, okay? Overall, this is an amazing thrash metal album that deserves way more attention than it gets. Like I said before, show this album some love if you are into metal music. Show it some love. My favorite tracks on this are Events and Concealment, Never Lose Your Humor, and Machinery. All right, yeah. Next up, we have more thrash metal. That's right, Watchtower, Energetic Disassembly. Background: Watchtower were an American thrash metal band formed in Austin, Texas, 1982. The band consists of members Jason McMaster on vocals, Billy White on guitar, Doug Kaiser on bass, and Rick Kalaluka on drums. Watchtower are often cited as the very first progressive thrash metal band. Although that could be subject to debate, there is no denial that they are the most influential prog thrash band. This particular album, Energetic Disassembly, was released in 1985. This album is so amazing. Like, if you're looking to just be straight blown away by just very proficient musicianship, give this a listen, because the musicianship is so tight on this, so complex, and every instrument bounces off of each other so well. I like the vocals on this. Some people say they don't like the vocals, but I do like the vocals on this. I think the vocals is very passionate. He adds a lot to the song. And also, I think has pretty interesting lyrics on this, too. But the most impressive selling point to me is definitely the musicianship and the intricacies of it. And it's impressive because it doesn't sound robotic. Sometimes there are bands that are super intricate, super technical, and they lose the emotion, they lose the passion, they lose the feeling. But this music still has a lot of heart and feel. So massive respect to Watchtower, and also for anyone who is a fan of the death metal band Death. I know I am. This band inspired Chuck Schneider when he went to the more technical direction on the death metal album Human. Although I heard that on Wikipedia, okay, and Wikipedia is not always the best source, okay, and I tried to find like other sources of like where Chuck Schneider actually said that, and I actually haven't really seen him say that anywhere in an interview or anything. I may be wrong. If someone actually has like a source of him saying that, feel free to shoot it below. I would like to see it, but just take what I said with a grain of salt, that he could have been inspired by this, but I haven't really found like a reliable source. I'm not saying that there isn't a reliable source out there, but I just haven't found it. I've just been going off word of mouth. So yeah, this band is awesome. You could tell they're hugely influential because a lot of bands went technical after this. And they were formed in 1982, y'all. Like, this band is technical thrash pioneers, no doubt. Super cool stuff. I love it. And my only criticism of it is the production. I can't lie. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you got to set aside poor production for incredible musicianship. And this is one of those cases. The production is not terrible, but the sound they gave the tom drum is just kind of, what were they thinking? Honestly, it sounds so bad. Even though the playing is great, the sound is just poor. And I also think the guitar is mixed way too low on this. It would have had way more punch if they would have brought up the guitars. But other than that, I really don't have any criticism of this. This is an incredible album. So yeah, Watchtower, Energetic Disassembly, awesome stuff. Next up, the sound, Jeopardy. Yes, this is a freaking masterpiece. I love this album. Okay, hold on one second. The notes pulled up here. All right, background of this album. This band. The Sound were an English post-punk band formed in London, and the band at formation consisted of Adrian Borland on vocals and guitar, Graham Bailey on bass, Belinda Marshall on keyboards, and Michael Dudley on drums. Lead singer Adrian was previously in a band called The Outsiders before forming The Sound, and this album, Jeopardy, was released in 1980. Oh man, where do I even start with this? This is another band that I'm going to say deserves way more recognition than they get, because when people talk about post-punk classics, they bring up Joy Division, they bring up Susan the Banshees, they bring up Wire, and those are totally valid choices to bring into the conversation. But I never hear many people bring up the sound into the conversation for some reason, even though this band had a lot to say, had a lot to contribute, especially in their sound. They were a very unique band, and I love the power of simplicity utilized on this. It creates a very cold, dissonant tone for this album, and it fits the lyrical content because it's very melancholy. You can tell that this singer liked to talk about a lot of sad and depressing topics, but he does it in an intriguing way. He does it in an artful way, in a skillful way, because this album conveys a tone, a feeling excellently. I absolutely love this thing. It's not an album I would be in the mood for every day, every second. You definitely got to be in a certain mood for this album because of how sad it is in a lot of parts and how demanding it is to listen to. But it is a rewarding listen if you're willing to give it a chance. So yeah, The Sound, Jeopardy, amazing album, super cool stuff. If you're into post-punk, moody post-punk, check this out. Like the likes of Joy Division. They're not exactly like Joy Division. They're different. They have their own sound, but they're part of that same genre and that same feel that Joy Division had, and like that melancholic post-punk sound. Joy Division are not gothic rock. Okay, they're post-punk. I will debate that. Okay. Next up, we have Dolly Parton, Coat of Many Colors. Oh man, I love this woman right here. I freaking love Dolly Parton. Absolute legend. I recently went to Dollywood. Absolute blast. I'm a huge fan of Dolly Parton. So let me give a little bit of a background of Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is an American country singer from Pittman Center, Tennessee, and she got her first guitar at the age of 8 years old. She began performing, appearing on radio shows, and even releasing a single at such a young age. That is immensely impressive. She had talent, major talent, and she is now regarded as a country music legend, as she should, and just a legendary person in general, because she is a freaking legend. I'm sorry, I'm a massive fan of Dolly Parton as a person. I love the way she approaches just spreading positivity to people, and she's very open-minded. I love her. I love her. This album, Coat of Many Colors, was released in 1971. This is one of her finest albums. It would actually be a good contender for her number one album, even though my personal favorite is Jolene, simply for the fact that it has Jolene on it. But this has a ton of classics too. Oh crap, I just realized for the previous albums I was talking about, I forgot to mention my favorite tracks. You know what, I'm going to go back quick and mention my favorite tracks. Okay, Energetic Disassembly. My favorite tracks on this are Energetic Disassembly, Asylum, and Violent Change. Favorite tracks on this, I Can't Escape Myself, Worlds Fail Me, and Missiles. Okay, sorry about that. Back to Coat of Many Colors. I love the messages on this album, the lyrical content, straightforward stories, but told in a way where it's, you're following along, you're invested, you're having a good time, and you can get different interpretations and messages and pull different things from these tracks, stories, which is cool. I love the message of the song Coat of Many Colors, saying that, who gives a shit what people say? Pretty much. Like, people are talking crap about the coat of many colors that Dolly Parton's mom made with her heart, just because it looks poor or whatever. Like, nah, people shouldn't be putting people down for that. And I think that's a great message. Oh, I forgot to check the chat here. My mom said, "Hey, baby." Oh, D. White, that's my grandpa, my poppy, I call him. Greetings, sir. Greetings, Poppy. It is nice to have you on the stream. You are an absolute legend. Same with you, Mom. And Trent Willis as well, saying, "Hey, yo, what is up, Trent Willis? It is great to have you on the stream." And if anyone has anything they would like to contribute to any of these albums, if you know about them, feel free. This is discussions, so if you have anything to contribute to the discussions of these albums, I am happy to mention it in the stream. So yeah, getting back to this. Dolly Parton delivered on this with like her strongest songwriting, I would say. The most consistently great songwriting, even though I like Jolene the best because of Jolene. But in terms of consistent songwriting, this is her top, I would say. I like the guitar work on this. It's simple but elegant. Like the chord progressions used on this. Amazing stuff, really. Just top tier country music and proof that there's good music to be found in pretty much any genre. Country is not excluded, guys and gals. I should say guys and gals because, like, when I say guys, I call women guys too, okay? I'm just used to it. Okay, so next up, we got... Ooh, I can't wait to talk about this one. Bob Marley and the Wailers. Woo! I freaking love Bob Marley and the Wailers. Talk about positive messages. This also has positive messages. A little bit of a background about this album. The Wailers are a reggae band from Kingston, Jamaica. It was formed by members Peter Tosh on guitar and vocals, Buddy Wailer on percussion and vocals, and Bob Marley on guitar and vocals. You're most likely familiar with Bob Marley. They have gone through many name changes and lineups through the years and released this particular album, Burnin, in 1973. Honestly, I think this album right here is one of the greatest reggae albums of all time. Infectious grooves, knowledgeable lyrical premises, dynamic instrumentation, and impressive vocal performances are spread all throughout this thing, and the memorability is through the charts. I go back to these tracks all the time because I think they just represent very quality, very raw, very real reggae. I dig it a lot. And I like the theme of awareness on this and the spread of peace. I'm all for that. And I've got to say my favorite tracks on this is Get Up, Stand Up, I Shot the Sheriff, and Small Axe. Absolutely love this thing. Incredible album. And I just realized I forgot to mention my favorite tracks for Code of Many Colors. What am I doing? Favorite tracks, Code of Many Colors, Travelin' Man, and My Blue Tears. I had to give myself a slap because I don't know how I forgot to do that again. I'm just rapid firing this. I'm ready to keep talking about these albums. Okay, so let's move on to Aphex Twin. Selected ambient works 85 to 92. Bro, this album right here. It is perfect for so many scenarios. Background of the Aphex Twin. Aphex Twin is an ambient musical project by British musician Richard D. James. The music is entirely created by him, solely by him. And he is considered to be among the most influential ambient artists out there. He began making music at a very young age, and some of the tracks on this album, Selected Ambient Works 85 to 92, was made by him at around the age of 13. So this album was a really long work in progress. My thoughts on this album, very creative production, because the feeling I get from this is the music feels like a living, breathing thing. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's just the best way I could describe the feeling I get from this music. Because the music feels like you've been transported to another place, and each song has a distinct atmosphere that sucks you in. Because of all the sound effects on this, all the subtleties and nuances that are put into the production adds so much character to this album. It is incredible. And I like this album because the craftsmanship of it allows for you to zone out and relax, not thinking too much about it to a crazy extent, but you can also tune in and closely observe, and both approaches are rewarding in their own way. There is so much you can get out of this album. I revisit it a lot, and quite frankly, it may grow into one of my favorite albums of all time. Yep. Dead serious. I love this. It's definitely up there in my favorite in my favorite instrumental albums, I would say. And it's definitely my number one ambient album that I've heard, but I'm a little bit new to ambient music. But this one blew me away, just blew me away. My favorite tracks on this are Pulsewidth. I don't know how to pronounce this track. It's Ageispolis, and then Heliosphan. Yep. 10 out of 10. Honestly, I can't think of anything wrong with this album. I'm always invested with it. Always love this. So yeah, definitely check it out. And I don't feel like there would be someone who like doesn't like this album, like is drawn back from the sound, because it's very, relaxing stuff. So I feel like most people should probably go check this out. But it's up to you. If ambient music sounds boring to you, then so be it. It's your decision. But I would recommend that, everyone check out all these albums. But I know that's not going to happen. Everyone has different tastes, and that's okay. This is just what I enjoy. This is just what I suggest and what I want to discuss. So if there's any that interests you, check them out. I highly recommend it. Okay, next up is After Hours by The Weeknd. I wanted to throw on some more popular albums on here. And The Weeknd is an artist that I truly love in the mainstream. I don't really listen to a whole lot of mainstream artists. And that's not me saying like, oh, my music taste is so underground. I'm better than all y'all. No. Everyone's music taste is valid as long as you have like decent reasons to back up why you enjoy the music you do. If you have reasons why you enjoy the music you do, you have good music taste. Everyone's music taste is valid, and everyone has their own taste, and that's fine. The subjectivity of music is what makes it so incredible, and so everlasting, and makes for such interesting discussion. Because if all music was objective, that'd be pretty boring, huh? But anyways, I got a little sidetracked there. But The Weeknd, let's get a little bit of a background for The Weeknd. Also known as Ageispolis, is a Canadian musician born in Toronto, Ontario. And this album, After Hours, was released in 2020. Pretty new. I can't say brand stinking new because, it was like, that was 2 years ago. What? No. No, I'm kidding. This is an incredible album. I love the incorporations of like the new wave style. Yeah, and I'm gonna be a big fan of that new wave synth pop influence in this. And you could tell that Ageispolis was inspired by New Order on some of these tracks, especially on songs like Blinding Lights. So if you are a fan of The Weeknd, listen to New Order because he was definitely inspired by him. I think a track that sounds a lot like inspiration for The Weeknd would be a song like Subculture by New Order. And The Weeknd is such a cool guy. He pulls from so many nice influences. You could tell the guy knows his shit. Like he definitely knows his shit in terms of music culture, and he definitely has taste. And he is a very talented musician too. Honestly, like one of the best artists in the charts, definitely better than Drake. Drake is horrible, in my opinion. No offense to Drake fans. Awful. But I'm perfectly okay with this guy topping the charts. I don't cringe because The Weeknd's music doesn't make me cringe. It actually has a lot of artistic merit, especially in like the way he produces his voice is really nice. I really like how atmospheric it sounds. And I like how varied this album is as well. Super interesting to listen to. The production is incredible, super impressive. Well mixed. Yeah, just fantastic stuff here. My favorite tracks on this will have to be Save Your Tears, Heartless, and Blinding Lights. I'm sure a lot of you have probably listened to The Weeknd. Maybe not, though. If you haven't, I would highly recommend checking them out. Next up, another more mainstream artist, we have Billie Eilish. When we all fall asleep, where do we go? Background. Billie Eilish is an American musician born in Los Angeles, California, and at the age of 13, she began making music with her brother Phineas. Phineas and Ferb. No, I'm kidding. That's such a lame joke. She worked with him for years, and they are working together on this album right here, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Released in 2019. This is another album that is super notable for its creative production. I love the use of bass on this. The production is, the notes are pretty simplistic. Like the compositions are simplistic, but as they as the composition allows. It's simplistic as the composition allows, as the songwriting allows, because the creativity in this production is definitely solid. I love the use of bass in this and how it coincides with Billie Eilish's very, more baritone voice. It goes together really well. Her more, deep, more whispery voice. It is excellent stuff, and it's super unique as well. And I love to hear that unique sound. It's just, her and her brother working together passionately on this very cool music project. I have nothing but respect for Billie Eilish and the work she does. I think she's a cool person. I think that she makes a lot of cool music, and I'm happy that she has a lot of fans because this album is creative. I got nothing but respect for it. So yeah, my favorite tracks on this album right here is Exani, You Should See Me in a Crown, and All the Good Girls Go to Hell. I'm sorry if I seem like I'm kind of passing through these albums faster. That's because I kind of ran out of time towards the end when I had these albums up. I didn't have as many notes on them, and I need those notes to sound, better. So I have more time to think about what I'm going to say. So I'm sorry if I'm not going into this much detail at this point. That's because I don't have any notes. Last but not least, we have Annihilation of the Wicked. I don't know why, but this kind of reminds me of Celtic Frost, Procreation of the Wicked. Like, every time I hear this album, it reminds me of Procreation of the Wicked by Celtic Frost. But anyways, Nile, background of Nile. They are an American death metal band formed in Greenville, South Carolina. Shout out to Greenville, South Carolina. That's where I was born. I feel connected to this band. That's where I was born. And the band consists of Carl Sanders on vocals and guitar, Chief Spires on bass, and Pete Hemera on drums. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This album, Annihilation of the Wicked, was released in 2005. This is their best album. Hands down, I absolutely love this album. I've seen this band live, and they kill it live. They are very proficient musicians, and I love the musicianship on this abso-freaking-lutely. And also what's cool is the lyrical themes, because they have a lot of references to Egyptian mythology, which is interesting to hear. The more extreme sides to Egyptian mythology. And it's super cool because you can learn a lot from these songs if you're interested in Egyptian mythology. Because they have, legit, references to Egyptian mythology. It's not stuff they make up. It's, pulled from, what Egyptian mythology says. And, yeah, I'm here for that. Super cool premises on this. Nile, Annihilation of the Wicked. Wicked album. Love it. All right. I think that wraps it up. Indeed it does. D. White, go Greenville. Yes, go Greenville. But yeah, that wraps up this album discussion. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy, leave a comment saying why it was bad. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day /night. And I will see you in the next live stream.